Let's talk about creative flow. We all know that making something can be a tricky stop and start process. Things get done eventually, but there can be so much interference, so many things trying to get in the way. And sometimes you have to stumble through a lot of weird, awkward stuff before your brain actually locks in. But then there are these times where we're in the zone, where the world seems to melt away and we totally lose ourselves in what we're doing. We're focused, engaged, and our hands just kind of do their thing automatically, almost effortlessly. Your feedback mechanisms are consistent. For artists, it can be wonderful because we can get a lot done and feel good while we're doing it. Now, as many of us know, the psychology term for this is a flow state. In a flow state, our brains are essentially producing and balancing the right chemicals to keep us motivated and focused. See the article I linked in the description for a deeper dive into the science behind this. Importantly, flow state can feel really elusive, especially in the open-ended, multifaceted world that so many of us now live in, where we are continually bombarded by attempts to monopolize our time and attention. I've spent years thinking about this stuff, and I made a lot of mistakes. And I've pushed through a lot of non-flow states to just get it done. And that's been frustrating at times, but it's also helped me a lot. I've learned a lot about what works for me, and that has helped me get a lot better at tricking my brain into a flow state. And even though I can't always just trigger it like that, I can at least put my brain in the best situation to maximize my chances. Now, in years thinking about this, and after having wasted plenty of my own time working inefficiently and spent time talking to other creatives about their own strategies, I have identified a few common themes. Also, a handful of tips. And though I apply them with maybe varying degrees of success, this stuff generally helps, at least for me. These are the 5 most important ones. Number 1, I need to have all my tools and materials out and ready to go before I start. If I'm having to continually stop to get things out or look for something, it can completely kill my flow. So I try to have a good setup. I want everything all right there. Backups for everything that I can. For me, that means having an excess of paint, brushes, pencils, whatever it is I'm using, having any reference material I might need ready to go. If I absolutely have to look something up even, I want to make sure I can do that quickly and easily without distraction. I also want to make sure I have multiple pieces accessible to work on. Blank paper as a backup, I don't know. Because if I do achieve a flow state, I don't want it halted by running into a wall with any individual piece. I want to keep that train running because it is not an easy one to catch. Number 2, kind of related to number 1, I need to go in with a plan. Conceptually. It doesn't have to be super specific. I can plan to improvise or just go on vibes. But when I do get that valuable time to work, I want to make sure I'm using my time for something that I can only do during that time. And thinking about what I want to do is not something that I have to do then. I can do that while I'm on a walk, or in the shower, or while I'm driving. It doesn't have to be that we obsess over it or think about it constantly, although I recommend being prepared for that possibility. Even a little thought to it here or there has often helped me build momentum. Usually, I'm just keeping my work's central group of ideas at the back of my mind and trying to pay attention to anything I encounter that sparks connection or adds context. And when I do, I just try to record it, write it down, or take a picture. Because unless it was huge, I'm gonna forget. So I accumulate a lot of photos and notes to myself. If even 1 out of 100 of these little connections ends up becoming useful later, that's great. It helps me a lot. That's what I try to do, and sometimes it helps me go into my studio a little bit more prepared. Gradually over the years, I started to realize just how much time I was sometimes using just figuring out what I wanted to do. And I really wanted to put a stop to that. Even the most creative and easily motivated of us rarely end up following through on our ideas without a specific motivator, something to kick us into gear. It's all part of the process, of course, especially earlier on in an artist's journey. But any way we have of clarifying what we intend to do before we start doing it should up our chances at achieving a flow state. I find that a calendar appointment with my own work is one of the easiest motivators to come by. And that leads us to number 3. Wherever possible, I need to set aside dedicated time and space to work, and I need to protect it with everything I've got. That means communicating clearly to others when that time is coming, being strategic about choosing the best times for myself that minimize distraction, and not throwing your time away to scheduling conflicts because they are going to happen and you alone are responsible for keeping that time alive. And creating a dedicated space to work is also really important. This has looked all kinds of ways for me over the years. I know that sometimes you really don't have much space to work, and that's totally normal. It is totally fine. Small things like setting aside the corner of a room or creating a kit for yourself that you can easily put up and take down can really go a long way. Also important not to put too much pressure on yourself, though. Sometimes that time isn't going to end up working out the way you intended, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up too much about it. You'll get it next time. Number 4, I need to leave my phone alone. I cannot bring fast dopamine into the room with me.
Girl, that phone is a nuclear warhead to your working time.
No social media, do not disturb. Leave it in another room if you have to. I don't think I need to elaborate too much more on this one. As far as I'm concerned, when I'm working, my phone is a glorified MP3 player. Which, by the way, I still have to be careful with. Sometimes music, a podcast, or an audiobook can help get me in the zone, but they can just as easily keep pulling me out of it if I'm not careful about what I put on. Number 5, I try to make sure that the scale of my project is appropriately challenging. If something is too easy or boring, I'm probably not going to end up working on it. On the other hand, if I bit off more than I can chew and my project involves a lot of learning and a ton of new information, I'm likely to procrastinate. It's important to strike a balance. Many of our brains need some kind of challenge, some substance to feel excited. There needs to be something interesting about what we're doing to motivate us. But again, we can also become overwhelmed when it's too much, and that can quickly assure that you're really not going to work on it. There's a sweet spot between too much challenge and not enough challenge that allows our brains to exercise our skills at a good level and in a sustainable way. The Goldilocks zone. This is especially not a one-size-fits-all thing, but I think there is great benefit in paying really close attention to how excited or potentially overwhelmed a piece makes you feel. Choosing the right things to work on at the right times can really maximize your excitement levels and maybe channel a little bit of anxiety into some motivation. So, in summary, if you want to maximize your chances at achieving a flow state while working on your art, set aside real time to work on stuff that tickles your brain. Have a plan, have your stuff ready to go, and leave your phone out of it. I hope next time you work on something, you get locked in such a good flow state that you don't even want to stop. And hey, if you made it to the end of the video, you're the best. A like and or subscribe helps me a lot, helps me grow my channel, and lets me continue making these videos. Protect your time, protect your space, set yourself up for success. You're gonna get there, I promise.